So now that we know Git automation is necessary, let's start actually implementing it step by step. So for you guys to follow along, I have a GitHub repository which has a simple React project already set up. So let's quickly set it up in our local. I'll just clone it quickly and we'll then start from there. Let's quickly install all the dependencies. We don't really have to worry about the contents of this project because we are not really going to dive into it. React is not the core focus of this video series. The core focus is going to be Git automation, and that's the reason why I'm not really creating an app from scratch in this video. That's just waste of time. So you can also go ahead and simply clone this repository and you can just then continue from there. It's a very straightforward, typical React application. Let me run it. So it's a simple e-commerce CRM kind of an application wherein you have a set of products and you have an option to add products inside your store. So if I add something here, let's try it out. I'm not going to add an image for this. I'll just keep it simple. Let me not add anything here. Category. Again, it's a very straightforward app. I have not really put that much thought into it. I've just asked ChatGPT to create a simple app for me. So not sure why this didn't work. Let me try it again. When I click on add product, ideally it should have created a product. I mean, it doesn't really matter. We are not really focusing on React side of things. If I click on this product, it will take me to a product page. I can add things here. I have a cart which has all of the items. Again, this is pretty stupid to be very honest. You can have just one product and account somewhere here inside this product cart, but it doesn't really matter. So this is the app. You can simply just clone it from this repository, which I have linked in the description. So now going back to the code, the first tool that we are planning to install, if you remember from the previous video, was Husky. So Husky will help us set up Git hooks. Basically, pre-commit is the main hook that we are going to look at, which is essentially a very common hook that lets you do certain things right before a commit. We'll do that with the help of Husky. The second one is going to be lint-staged. We'll also set it up in this video itself. Lint-staged is going to help us lint and format our stage files. And since the linting rules will be added to the project, it will be same for each commit across the team. Whoever is pushing code to the repository, the formatting will be the same. So you won't get unnecessary format related diffs in a pull request that we talked about in the previous video. So yeah, let's install both of them. I don't have to worry about this anymore. I'll just close the dev server. Now I'll do npm install, and this is a dev dependency. So I'll put -d, Husky, and lint-staged. Okay, this is installed. Let's focus on Husky first. So the first step that we'll do here is initialize Husky. So npx husky init. This will create a Husky directory inside your project. If you see at the top here, we now have a folder called Husky, and it has already created a pre-commit script for you. Let's not worry about the content. This is just dummy content. So we'll ignore this. Along with this Husky folder that gets created with this command, if you take a look at the package.json, you'll also see a new script added over here. This prepare script that's going to basically run Husky. So you see, when you clone a project, Husky initially has to be set up, and you can run the Husky command, this exact command, you can run it manually, but this prepare script actually runs on every local install. So anytime you do an npm install, this prepare script is also going to run with it. And since you have to run npm install in order to run the actual app, it's automatically going to configure Husky in your project. So this is sorted for us. The npx husky init command, I only had to do it when I actually set up the project. Next time someone clones this project, they don't have to do anything. The moment they do npm install, prepare is also going to run with it. And this prepare is essentially Husky, this Husky command, which is going to set up the Husky folder just like the init command did for us. So we have Husky set up in our project. Now let's look at this pre-commit hook. I don't really want the npm test command, so I'll get rid of it. And instead, I'll replace it with npx lint-staged. This is going to look at all the stage files that I have locally and run whatever I configure inside the lint-staged config. So I've just added this one script here, but I don't really have a config for this lint-staged command. So we have to add it somewhere inside our project. There are different ways of doing it, But to keep it simple, I'm directly going to add it inside the package.json file. If I go here and at the bottom, I can simply copy a very straightforward config. So this basically runs lint and format scripts. So this lint script, we have it over here. Yeah, we already have it here. It's going to run the ESLint command, and this dot tells you to go through the entire directory. So this is what the lint command points to. We also have a format command that I'll come to later, but both of these are going to be applied to all the files in the staging area with these extensions. So basically 99% of your project. So just to show you what happens when I break an ESLint rule, let's go inside the ESLint config file and I'll add one rule. It's a very common rule because you don't really want console logs inside your code base. So I've just set it to error. So this means that anytime I add a console log statement inside my project anywhere, it's going to throw an error. Because I have added this ESLint rule, and ESLint rule essentially tells me to do certain things to keep the code clean. This is one of those rules, and I am breaking it when I add a console log statement. So let's do that. Inside the app file, I'll add a console.log statement, and you see here that it's already giving me an error. It says unexpected console log statement, and it's pointing to the same rule that we just added, the no console rule. There's a good chance that you may not get this error on the code editor itself because I have a few extensions installed. That's why I believe I'm getting this error here. But if you want to see the error in the terminal, you can just simply run npm run lint, and it's going to run the same script that we saw over here. And you see that we have a couple of warnings. Don't really have to worry about the warnings for now, but we have the error, the exact same error that we saw over here. So this means that our ESLint rule is working. So now you'll tell me that, yeah, you can see the error here. You can just get rid of it. Why do you want a specific rule for it? And why do you want to add it as part of a workflow? So the thing is, obviously I know that there is a console log statement here, so I can remove it. But when I'm changing multiple files and debugging with the help of console logs left and right, there's a chance I might miss one or two. And that now will be picked up when I commit because of the pre-commit lint-staged hook. There are also a set of ESLint rules that you can use to enforce good standards and practices, and you can also create your own if you want, but that's a separate discussion altogether. So we are done with the lint part. Now let's go back to the package.json file and let's look at this format script. We don't really have a format script inside our list of scripts. So let's do that. So this format script is actually related to Prettier. So what I'll do is I'll simply add a new script which is going to use Prettier. This command essentially formats all the supported files like JavaScript, TypeScript, JSX, TSX, etc. inside your project folder. The write flag tells Prettier to actually overwrite files with a formatted version. Without this flag, Prettier might just show you differences but won't change anything. We actually want it to change, so I'll do that. The dot at the very end again means the same thing. It will cover all of the files in the current directory. Again, all of these configurations are default, and if you want to add your own custom configuration, you can create a Prettier RC file, or you have just like 10 different ways to do it. Just like we did for the lint-staged config at the bottom, we can actually add a Prettier config as well. This again simplifies a lot of things, but since I don't really want these rules, I'm okay with the default set of rules. I'm not going to use this. So lint-staged is all set up. Now let's try to test this out. We already have a console log statement here, and we clearly see that ESLint is giving us an error for it. So this seems to work. Now to test out the Prettier format command, I first have to undo one setting inside my local VS Code. So anytime I, let's say, get rid of the semicolon and I save it, my VS Code is going to automatically format it based on the Prettier rule set. So I don't want that. I just want to show you how this works. So I will go to the settings and I'll get rid of this. So now it's not going to format on save. If I get rid of this and try to save, you see that it didn't do it. It didn't add the semicolon automatically. So what we'll do is we'll try to commit this, and we have two things that are breaking. One for ESLint and one for Prettier. The semicolon is not here, so Prettier is going to automatically add it, And this is actually going to break the workflow because this does not comply with the ESLint rule of no console. So let's try that. I'll open up the terminal. Let me clear this and let's add all the changes and let's commit with a message saying setting up lint-staged. The moment this happens, you'll see that we have a couple of items that are being run. It says that it has backed up the original state in a Git stash. That's perfect. This is basically a caching strategy. So it's running tasks for the stage files. And if you look at it, it's running the same task, the lint-staged task that's present inside package.json. And the lint script actually failed. We obviously know the reason because we have this console log statement. So it's not going to push the commit. It actually fails the workflow and you can't really push anything in your repository. So now I'll get rid of this and save it. Now it's going to allow me to commit. So again, I'll do the same thing. And this time, ideally, both of our workflow should go through. Both of our scripts should go through. So both the checks in our workflow worked. And if you see, it has now added 35 new changes. All of these changes are linting related changes. And if you check any one of those files, you'll see that it has now converted all single quotes to double quotes. So this is part of the default Prettier configuration. Obviously, you don't really have to worry about this. This is just ESLint doing its job. The next time I commit something, it's not going to give me this because all of the rules that are being applied to the files are already inside the main branch. So anytime someone clones from it, they'll also have the same ESLint rule set. If they try to push something, it's going to follow the same structure and you won't really get these many changes. Hope that made sense. Let's also try to test the format script. So yeah, here I am getting rid of one semicolon. I'll save this and now I'll again do the same thing. Let's commit something and keep an eye on this empty space. It is automatically going to add a semicolon because in package.json, the format command, we have the right flag. So it's also going to automatically update it, write to it based on the rule set that we have configured in Prettier, which is the default rule set. So I'll open this up again and I'll stage all of them and I'll commit saying ESLint format applied. The moment it goes through the workflow, you'll see that a semicolon gets added here. So this is actually doing the formatting for us. This workflow will do it for us. It's going to go through the ESLint rules. If any of the rules do not comply with the code that we have written, that's inside the staging area, then it's going to give us an error. It's not going to commit. If my code complies with all of the ESLint rules and there is like a formatting error and Prettier has a rule set for it to fix it, then it's going to do that for us. We don't really have to worry about it. So now based on your project, you can have a set of standards defined inside the ESLint config. Anyone who tries to break those standards won't be able to commit to the repository. Also, you'll now never get differently formatted code in your PR because the stage files are going to be formatted based on the rule set defined by Prettier, and it will be the same for everyone who installs the project. So essentially bad code will never go in. Alright, in the next video, we'll look at type safety and enforcing tests in our pre-commit hook. As you can see here, we are using TypeScript. So you'll see that it's essentially creating a Zord schema, but out of this Zord schema, we are creating a type. If you don't really know what Zord is and what it does, I have a separate tutorial on it. I'll link it in the description. You can go check it out. So since we do have types here, in the next video, we are going to enforce type safety and we are also going to enforce working tests inside our pre-commit hook. You don't want failed tests and bad code to go through. So yeah, that's exactly what we'll be doing in the next video. Thanks for watching this one. Do subscribe to the channel if you like the content and I'll see you in the next one.